Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Pointless Top 10, a show where we make top 10 lists of pointless things, where we fly and buy a pointless statue in Booty Bay, because inside pointless things are treasure. Let's begin. 10. Number 10 is Layrana, the half-melted dryad, and she is located at the Lost Light Grotto in Valshara. And so pretty much the owl beasts have gone crazy, they're disconnected from Elune, and Layrana is like, you gotta go help the other dryads before they pretty much get melted by these owl beasts. And then after you save them, you have to power up Layrana's dream catcher, which allows you to break the owl beast barrier and gain access to Keeper Remulos and help save him. But by the end of all this, Layrana has been melted down into just this puddle of goopy jelly or whatever she is at this point. She's dead. It's also kind of funny because they didn't change her voice lines to be like, I'm melting. She's still like, the great outdoors, as she's like half melted. So it's weird. It's unsettling. And I think it's a quest that a lot of people have forgotten about. And so for this top 10, I really wanted to find some stuff that aren't in many other top 10s, because a lot of other top 10s at this point with creepy stuff in them are repetitive. It's just a bunch of stuff from back in the day. But I was like, you know what? We need some more modern creepy stuff in these top 10 lists. You know what I mean? And so I think this is very fitting for it. And that's why Layrana is number 10. 9. Number 9 is this painting located at the Barrow Knoll Cemetery in eastern Drustvar. And apparently the spirits of the dead lurk around these grounds. And the cemetery is crawling with grave bloom, which is an herb that grants the living the ability to see spirits. But that's not what brought me here. What brought me here was this painting. And if you look at this painting, it just looks like some guy that sailed the seven seas or a pirate guy or whatever. But if you wait long enough, his face starts to turn into a skeleton face. And I tried to find information about it. I don't know who this is. I don't know why they have a thing here. I think it's just some random guy for a random painting. In fact, I'm pretty sure that there is another area in Borealis where you can find this exact same painting. I know because I saw it in like a random video or something, but I couldn't like pinpoint where it was. So there are multiples of this painting. This isn't like the only one in the game, but it's still pretty freaky. And I think it's more fitting in a place like this. So that's why I put it number 9. 8. Number 8 is the Path of Glory in the Hellfire Peninsula. And the Path of Glory is the road that leads from the foot of the Stairs of Destiny to the Hellfire Citadel. And if you take a closer look at the road, it's actually not just a normal road. It is completely made up of trampled Draenei bones, which is really freaky once you realize that. And so the orcs killed about 90% of the Draenei race here, and the ruins of the towns and temples of the Draenei can be found in various parts throughout Outland, but it's really insane to think about, because I remember I've walked back and forth on this road all the time, and you're like, oh, you know, there's some skeletons on the road or whatever, and you don't really piece it together until you know the full story. And now every time you walk on this road, you're like, this is insane. You know what I mean? Like, it truly is. And Varrock Sourfang, in fact, considered the road one of the Horde's greatest shames. And so for all those reasons, that's why I had to put the Path of Glory at number 8. 7. Number 7 is the World of Warcraft Wicker Man. And there's actually a few Wicker Men in World of Warcraft. But if you don't know, a Wicker Man was a large wicker statue in which the druids sacrificed humans and animals by burning. And the actual main evidence for the Wicker Man stems from Julius Caesar in his commentary on the Gallic War. And so when you first come across this Wicker Man cult in Drustvar, it's kind of freaky. Like, they're all standing around kind of worshiping it. And you're like, okay, this is kind of freaky, but the quest line actually gets kind of goofy. So it starts out with these two parents that have lost their son Edwin, and they're like, I think those Wicker Men cultists took him. And so you go and find Lord Autumnvale, who's like the leader of the Wicker Man cult, and he's like, listen, those people sent you. I told you, if you wish to know his whereabouts, you got to prove that you do. So you have to go find some offerings and bring the offerings to the Wicker Man. And so you bring him the offerings, and you bring him like fruit, and they're like, nah, he doesn't like fruit. What are you thinking? And then they're like, herbs? These aren't ritual herbs. These are cooking herbs. And then you finally bring him bones. They're like, oh yeah, he likes bones. And so he's like, okay, Edwin, yeah, he came to us and he was looking for the blessings of the Wicker Man. But while he was looking for offerings, he got attacked by bees and I don't know where he went. And so then you go looking for him and you find him in a cave and he's like, not the bees, not the bees. And so obviously this is a reference to the Nick Cage Wicker Man movie where his name is Ed in the movie. And then he's like, not the bees. And so you help fight off the bees. Edwin escapes, but then he gets recaptured by the Wicker Man cult for a blood sacrifice, and so you have to help fight off all of the Wicker Man cult and finally free Ed and burn the Wicker Man, and that's the end of the quest. And so what really started out as a thing I thought was going to be really creepy turned into a thing that was kind of goofy, but I decided to include it because I just thought it was fun anyway, and it's still a little creepy, so that's why the Wicker Man is number 7. 6. Number 6 is the baby harpy, and there's a lot of theories surrounding the baby harpy because at first you find this in the Exile's Reach up on one of the big wooden posts, and you're like, oh, it's just a baby harpy, it's in an egg, right? But then you look a little more into it, and it appears that harpies are pretty well known for stealing babies and children. In fact, someone brings up that there's a mage quest in Legion where you chat up Aether Sunreaver's apprentice, and you ask her, where did you meet him? And she tells a story about saving him from being kidnapped by a harpy and a banshee that were fighting over him. And on top of that, harpies stem from Greek mythology, where they were considered to be soul snatchers and are said to have done the work of Hades and stealing both children and the souls of other people, carrying them to the underworld. I mean, it is also possible that it is just some random Easter egg. I mean, quite literally an Easter egg to something, and I have no idea what it is, but if you know, or have some sort of theory, put it in the comments section below. I'd love to hear it. And that's why the harpy baby is number 6. 5. Number 5 is Teresa the Mind Slave, as well as the entire area of the Undercity's Apothecarium. And Teresa is an experiment of Gerard Abernathy, who removed parts of her brain and stimulated other parts, and is pretty much his human pet. And according to the WoW Wiki, her name and blindfolded appearance may be a reference to Teresa from the game Fable. And so he pretty much has her do a bunch of errands and deliveries, and he shows her to his friends, and his friends are like, wow, that's unbelievable. I wish I had a human pet. Meanwhile, in the actual apothecarium, there's a bunch of experiments going on. There's a bunch of abominations hanging from the ceiling. There's abomination heads where you can see their eyes like moving all over, which is kind of freaky. There's a bunch of caged up humans and dwarves, and there's like a dead orc in a cage. Like, I feel like these are the types of things where you just normally are questing and walking around and you're like, ah, that's weird, and you keep going. But then when you stop and really analyze it, you're like, this is pretty messed up. You know what I mean? So that's why Teresa the Mind Slave and the Apothecarium are number 5. 4. Number 4 are the Nathavor tribe of blood trolls located in Nazmir. And not only do these trolls look kind of creepy, but this tribe is known for its heavy ritualistic practice of cannibalism. The women of the tribe actually eat the males and anything they capture, believing that the practice grants them greater power, and in addition to eating their own tribe and captured individuals, the tribe sacrifices some of the unfortunate souls to serve as food for the monstrous maw fiends they train and raise to aid the tribe in combat. And it's really just one of those places that's more creepy unsettling than it is like creepy scary. You know how there's plenty of things where you're like, ah, that's just scary, but this is more of that unsettling vibe where you have like trolls in jars, you have like weird looking architecture, you have trolls just eating people around here. Like, it's very odd, and it's kind of crazy that this was in World of Warcraft, you know what I mean? In fact, the entire zone of Nazmir has some pretty creepy stuff in it if you go back and walk around, but I would say the Nathavor tribe is one of the creepiest, so that's why they're number 4. 3. Number 3 are the Horde captives located in Boralis, and specifically Captive Tanra and Captive Tadam, I think, are the creepiest ones. So Captive Tanra is a female Tauren that is being literally water tortured. You know, it's not every day you see water torture in World of Warcraft, but here it is. She's just chained up and water's dripping on her as she's crying. And then there's Captive Tadam, who is being used for target practice as they throw a bunch of knives and shoot crossbows all around him. The other two are just like cooking and doing laundry, which seems way better than whatever, you know, Tadam and Tanra are going through, but it's all pretty bad. And this is all part of the quest Sky Drop Rescue, where Nathanos Blightcaller has you go and free the soldiers of the Horde and bring them back to the extraction point and set them free. So that's why they're here, but it's still pretty messed up, and that's why it's number 3. 2. Number 2 are 2 locations located on top of mountains in the Blasted Lands. So the first one is a bunch of skeletons sitting around this floating crystal, and they're all holding these jars, so I imagine they were trying to do some sort of ritual, and then it backfired, and they all died, or something bad happened, but whatever it wasn't good. And then the other one is on a different mountain, and there's a summoning circle there, and it looks like a bunch of these soldiers are just solidified in the position that they died in. And it's really odd, especially when you go up to their faces and see it up close. It's like, it's pretty freaky. And I don't know, this might be a reference to the ruins of Pompeii, which that was the thing where the volcano erupted and then everything got buried under a thick carpet of volcanic ash, and it kind of preserved everything. And so people were just like stuck in the position they died into the volcano. If you go look it up, it's also pretty weird. But yeah, the Blasted Lands has 2 different summoning rituals gone wrong on 2 different mountains. And so I was like, you know what? Let's put it at number 2. 1. And number 1 are the Forgotten Crypts of Karazhan, specifically the Upside Down Sinners. And I know that I mentioned earlier that I try to avoid things that have been on other creepy lists in the past and stuff like that, right? But I feel like this area, specifically the Underwater Sinner area, is like truly insane. Like, it's one of the craziest things in World of Warcraft. These like dead underwater chained up bodies just hidden away in this vacant large area that you have to explore under Karazhan to find. It's just, this is not something that you would ever really expect to ever find in World of Warcraft. And a lot of people had a bunch of theories about the crypts, why they were here, why they were never finished, but in a 2018 AMA, John Stats, who I fished with in a Fishing with Crendor, stated that the crypts were meant to be a questing area, but it turned out they were never needed, and so they were never finished, and that was pretty much it. But I would say this is one of the most creepy, well-known areas in the game, and that's why it's number 1. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of Pointless Top 10. If you want more Top 10s, we had Pointless Top 10 creepy NPCs last year, so if you're like Crendor, you missed some stuff. Well, maybe it was in creepy NPCs. Also, you can see hidden faces if you want to see some weird hidden faces in World of Warcraft. Okay? Okay. See ya.